Why not? We are live.
But not in the stream thing. Are we? Oh yes, we are live. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Nice Game Lounge. Here.
I like that the world has had like what 7 months of doing everything in this way, and somehow the gremlins still come out to cause problems like 10 minutes before the stream starts.
Right. You can prepare as good as you want. You will always start, like everything will stop functioning until 10 seconds before you go live. And in a way, this is much like the fair experience, right? On the fair, it's also like on the last 5 minutes before the doors open, you fill all the holes in your booth, and you use the gaffer tape to fix the things you want to hide and stuff. So feels very much like a real fair.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves. I realized that last time there was no mention of who people are and what they do.
Yeah, we're still learning. That's true. We should do that. So in the studio we have Lolly and Francisco, and maybe show yourself right there.
Hello.
Right. Lolly and
Nice
Francisco.
Yeah, with
our
shirts and everything.
Yeah,
represent.
And also
Oh,
coffee mug.
Very nice.
Everything branded. Everything here is marketing.
Everything is branded just in a very shitty way. Like,
Hey.
Francisco, where's your Nice Game tattoo? You should show that off.
No, it's in a hidden place.
It's a special place. Nice.
Right. So,
So then we have-
yesterday we had
Yeah.
some sound problems, which we are hoping we have at least partly resolved, right? So
Yeah, please leave a comment if it sounds like it's being recorded in a cave somewhere, and we'll try to fix that.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, and hello Jennifer. Yes, thank you. I also have this shirt, or one of them. Right, and Francisco and Lolly have been working on vampire marketing, on vampire playtesting before, and are generally doing all kinds of things for Nice Game. And to continue the introduction, thank you Alexander, sound is all right. To continue the introduction, Ash did most of the development work for Vampire together with me, Simon, and so we are basically the culprits of this whole thing. And for Corona reasons, at least for me, for Corona reasons, and for Ash, I think it was homesickness. We can only join via this Zoom conference here. So hopefully I'll be able to join later for Saturday and Sunday in the studio, but for today we'll have 2 in the studio and 2 via online link. Right. So what are we going to do today? We basically think of this as our Essen booth here. Just like if we were in Essen, we don't really have a very strict plan of what will happen, because our plans anyway tend to be bombarded. For today, we thought we'll talk a bit about the other things that we're doing. We're obviously very happy to take your questions, and then later on, if we have time, we want to start a game actually, and show you the steps. And I'm talking starting a game of Vampire Heritage, obviously. do the prologue together, choose our first retainer, and so on and so forth. Show you a little bit about how that is done. Right. Before that, I think we should mention that we have a shop and discounts.
Yes.
Can you tell us things about that, Francisco?
Yeah, like I said, here we are all like marketing, so we're going to sell
Welcome
you
to
something.
Shields.
Yeah. So if we have a shop, it's called thenicegameshop.com, and we have many games. Most of them are from Asia, but also from other parts of the world, Europe as well, South America. And we have a big Essence sale, so it's going to last only till Sunday. And if you go to nicegameshop.com, you will see that there is like a button for Essence discounts, and you go there and you will see the whole collection of games that are discounted. It's 30% off. So when you add them to your checkout, you will see the discount in the end. It's 30% for all of the games that you will see in that collection, and that includes some of our own games like Terrible Monster and Dragon Canyon. And if you didn't know, we also are pre-ordering Vampire in the shop. So if the game sounds interesting, you can go to the shop and pre-order the game there as well.
Right, and I'm not sure if these links are currently in the video
Yes.
description.
Yes,
and
you
I
can
think they
find.
are actually.
Yes, you can
So,
find the
that's-
link to the shop in the description. Also, we have a Discord channel because we are testing our new games, Game of the Year and Hunt. So yeah, you're welcome to go into Discord, and then you can try them and tell us what you think about them and help us in the development. And of course, you can also find more about us in our nice game publishing.com. All of these links are in the description. We also have
Right, but,
some deals.
But Francisco, I already have lots of games. Like I have Monopoly and I have all the big. Why do I need Nice Game Shop? What's going on? Why should I care?
Because we are the Nice Game Shop. We are nice and we have very different games from your experience with Monopoly. I know that you love it, but it's not the best game in the world, I think. So you will see like a lot of different games and from smaller publishers and more like unknown designers. So it's pretty cool to see these other ideas coming from like Korea, China, Japan. You also will find games for like from Brazil and so on. So you will have a really like a new experience because it's in many cases they are doing things that are not done in traditional board games in Europe. So it's really interesting to see like how they develop board games there. And
Right.
it's a big
And
discount,
I want to
so
say our
30%.
little shill for the Discord already worked out great. We have our first guest there, Talon. Welcome, joining from the Nice stream, from the Nice Game Lounge stream. Very nice. This is working just as we planned it, guys. Seriously though, the new games are cool, and they are you can test prototypes there using Tabletop Simulator, and I think it's particularly interesting because they are not finished games. They are in a very special state, so they're not like very early prototypes by your uncle or something like that, but they're also not fully finished games. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, come and join us and check out these games.
Would you say that the games are like children or babies or teenagers, or are they something else?
Right. So, I mean, if you think of vampire as basically like the Methuselah, as or at least the octogenarian of the group, I would say that Hunch is pretty much like a 17-year-old.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah.
It's just on the cusp. Do you say it like that? On the cusp of adulthood. and Game of the Year is a little bit earlier. It's like still very malleable.
Yeah,
Like your
and
your
it still falls down sometimes.
yeah,
Mm.
that's exactly right. So yeah, I mean, if you like to chat about game design, if you like to explore these things, the Discord is a very nice place to do that, I think. So, with that out of the way, what's next on our schedule here?
So maybe we can start with some questions that we received from yesterday's stream. So we have one question on YouTube, and if you've been following the development of the game, you will remember that there is one battleground called The Beast Within. And for a long time, we had a design that we actually showed in last Essen, which is this one. Maybe we can check here. So it's here. Yeah.
Maybe put it
Right.
in the cam. In the
Oh,
speaker.
maybe let's try if it fits the zoom camera.
Spider cam.
Yeah.
Spider cam.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right.
So on last Essen, if you playtest Vampire, you play with this battleground, which is one of the starting battlegrounds. And now you will find in the box something different, which is this one.
Right.
And this is also the Beast Within. Like this is the Beast Within you will find on the box. And the question was, what was the thinking between or in changing this previous one to the new one that they will get in the box?
Right. So as a context for people who don't know the game that well, it's these battlegrounds are like the game boards in the game, and they change as you go through the campaign. And obviously, each of them has a gameplay and a theme component. And this one is about the Beast Within. It's about the vampiric struggle in Vampire the Masquerade. The vampires always have to fight to keep some kind of sanity and in order to not devolve into mindless monsters, basically. And that's what this Beast Within is about. This particular, like all of the battlegrounds, went through all kinds of changes throughout development, where we tried things and then it worked, and then we found something better, and so on and so forth. I think this one in particular is an example of the last step of development where we noticed that the game was a little bit inaccessible, and we tried to adapt somewhat and try to find ways to make it a little bit more accessible. Maybe Ash, you can talk some more to that.
Yeah, so I think the only other thing I would point out to give some context for the battlegrounds from like a game design point of view is that it's very simple. The battlegrounds are very simple because they constitute sort of there are always 3 battlegrounds in play at once, and there are of course many other moving pieces around that with the clans and the players and the characters. So they're a very small puzzle, and they tend to have sort of like basic game theory sort of things like area control or like a tug of war, things like that. So they're very simple. And this was an example of I know that the original design for this was actually more complex as far as the design. And so this was already a kind of a sharpening of that. But I think it was a case where there were some mechanical quirks with that design, such as it was sometimes possible to sort of go backwards on the track without it affecting your score, and whereas sometimes it would affect your score, so there was this sort of terrain to that. But I think it was an example where people intuitively wanted to play it a particular way. They thought that it would work in a particular way, but it didn't. And so by making that sort of pivot, we were able to keep, I would say, 90% of the sort of nuance of the actual game, puzzle, but remove 50% of the complexity. And so when you could make something essentially as rich as a puzzle to think about, but simpler, you're being more efficient as far as what you're asking people to think about and the amount of sort of fun you're giving them, that you're giving them in return. So yeah, and thematically, the connection between the theme and the mechanics on this track is very much that you have a sort of yin and yang approach to the world, one that's more passive and contemplative, thoughtful, and one that's more reactive and violent and aggressive. And the whole idea within the Vampire the Masquerade world around the beast within and keeping it in check is not to be a good person necessarily. It's more to pick a path. It's to pick a moral worldview that you can sort of stick to and tell yourself that because you have maintained this moral code, because you have maintained this way of viewing the world, you are a sort of coherent psychological entity. So the whole idea is that you don't have to be good, you don't have to be bad either. You can be more contemplative and thoughtful, but you have to stick to a track. And I think that rather than flip-flopping between the two. And I think that right now it conveys that more efficiently than the last build. So it's essentially the same puzzle, but with a more fluid sort of entry for new players and for players generally as they're coming back to it. So yeah, that was the history of the Beast Within.
Right. So we're hoping that answered the question. We did spend a lot of time on it. Are there any further questions in the stream or in the Discord?
Yeah, there is one on Discord. So Triperis is asking, what's the incentives for changing clans, since you already upgrade two characters to a particular clan after first game of campaign?
Right. So changing of the clans is a very interesting topic, right? Because in the Vampire the Masquerade context, everyone loves to stick to their clan. Everyone has their favorite clan, or maybe one or two clans that they like. And it's very much a vampire thing to say, well, I'm a Nosferatu, I do Nosferatu things, and I'm going to be that for the whole campaign. From our point of view, and I'm taking a big approach here, like I'm trying to give you all the context for this. From our point of view, the basic pillar of the game design was always that we wanted the player to be this scheming, shadowy entity, and we always felt that it was a better fit for that. A better fit for that, to have someone who can at least manipulate people of different clans from time to time. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is, of course, balancing in a competitive legacy game where the balance between the clans might become very skewed. So that brings me to the concrete question, like why should you even change the clan? First of all, it's true that if characters, if there's a lot of good characters of a certain clan, there is a basic advantage to that clan, but that's not the only thing that goes into the question, which clan should I pick? There is, I think, a flowing change of power levels between the clans, even if you wouldn't have them have the decks change, which you actually do. Like some of them, the losing clans get additional schemes. But even if that wasn't the case, you would have a change of power level just by virtue of changing battlegrounds, right? Like the Nosferatu use can do a lot with infamy. So when a battleground is in play that plays with that, they suddenly rise in power level. So I think that's one of the main reasons I would say that you would consider swapping clans, is because someone else maybe just owned you with another clan, and you don't want to let them do that again. Sorry, I talked for a long time, and Ash is the actual expert on this. Ash, do you have to chime in?
Well, no, I was just going to say something kind of dumb, which is that in my experience watching groups and playtesting happening, it's quite natural for players to want to play different clans. Like they just like as like regardless of the game theory or anything like that, it's just very fun to pick up a different clan. All of their schemes are different. They have a key mechanic, which is completely unique and sort of custom made. So there is, for a certain kind of player, I think many players, it's just sort of interesting to see how it plays. Now, as for why you would change or why you wouldn't change, yeah, it's true that in some sense there are some sort of like stakes now, right? There are like the Nosferatu have this character and the Tremere have that character, so that sort of means something. I mean, it's only a small number of the overall characters, but I wanted to sort of push the opposite way a little bit, which is to say, if you've just lost with a clan, why would you play them again? That to me was the more pressing sort of question, and that's why you have exactly this mechanic that someone was talking about, that if you do come lost with the clan, you research, you plot, and that clan gets stronger by way of having another scheme added to them. So now, even though you just lost with them and you're convinced it's because the clan sucks and like nobody could possibly win with this clan, you've just seen typically a very strong card added to that deck. And so that was the direction that I was pushing towards, which is how do we make them sort of play them again? As for the other reasons you would change, yeah, as someone was saying, there's so much meta in this game. The changing battlegrounds, seeing the different clans that people pick, but it is still, even with the rules as written, with no sort of changes whatsoever, it's totally possible to just pick the same clan. That's a completely, and I think probably if you're playing particularly at the higher player counts, I don't think anything whatsoever will break there, because if the Tremere are just getting stronger, well, in a very thematic way, the other clans need to get together and they need to sort of take them down a notch. And there are loads of ways to do that, particularly with the expansions. You know, you can remove characters permanently. So yeah, that's how I would think about this like changing clans thing. And it is quite a long campaign. You know, the games are reasonably sized. It's like a main meal for your gaming night, and there's 21 of them. So while I'm sure there are people who are going to be like, I love Nosferatu, I'm going to be Nosferatu the whole time, it's going to take some commitment to look at all of the other toys the other clans have and be like, nah, I don't need to try that. You know, I'm not intrigued. I'm a Nosferatu guy. You could do that. That's fine.
Right. On a very basic level, I mean, as a game designer, you have to be pissed if you design 9 clans and this group of players is only using 1/3 of what you put in the game. So people, please, try the other things. That's also the only way you can write rants on the internet later about how unbalanced stuff is, right? If you've only ever played one clan, you don't have a voice. You don't have any competence to say things about that.
So when you're underestimating the genius of the Board Game Geek poster.
That's true. Everything is impossible until it is possible. Or how was that?
Cool. Right. Do we have any more questions or comments from people?
I see on Discord, Triperis is happy. His group would be satisfied with our explanation. That's good. And Fabian in the chat says he feels threatened by us. OP, Triperis, by chance, you're one of our beta testers, right? So you would know the Ventru ROP. That being said, all it takes is a little bit of just doing what they want you to do, and then you're in the game again, I think, for the Ventru. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Play their game, and you'll beat them.
So yeah, we really hope we're gonna see people like really get these intricacies and have fun exploring these intricacies. Right, and that's it for this question, I think. If there are no more questions, how do you feel about moving on? I don't know, Francisco, Lolly, is there anything else in any of our channels that we should
Nope.
answer?
Nope. I think we can proceed.
Yeah. We don't have more questions, so
Yeah. Something that I wanted to say is that I've played a few games in the campaign, right? Like throughout the last year. And something very natural is like losing and then wanting to play with the clan that won just to see what happens. And that's something that happens all the time, at least in my case. I would always switch, and even though there are like some favorite clans, you always want to try something new. So I think it's maybe before playing you will think, I just love the Bruja or something, but then as you play, I think it's just too tempting to see what the winners are trying or just other clans.
Right. I mean, yeah, you would lose a lot in those games, I remember that.
Sorry, Nicophorus the
That's
third.
not true. Actually, Francisco was very competitive
Yeah.
in the games we've played. I remember that.
so let's go to the plan of for today. So
Mhm.
we want to start setting the game, and yeah, Simon, tell us what's the plan for
So
today.
you don't want to do the cluster duel. We'll do the cluster duel on
After?
another day. Is that right?
No, maybe we can do it after. No.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. If we have time, we can do it.
Yeah,
Right.
at the end of
I
the
mean, it's not
day.
like we're doing this huge thing. So that means we should get out the game box and
Yes. So?
what we basically want to do is especially if you're Rebecca, if you've bought the game and you're opening that box and you're seeing all the stuff that's in there, we want to explain to you what we think you should be doing with it in these first minutes, or how we think you should start approaching the game. We thought a lot about this, and I'm not sure if we wrote this in the rulebook, but our idea was that basically the best thing players can do is start playing the first game of the campaign, right, Ash? That's how we approach this.
Sure, yeah.
I think one of the things that's fun about the game is that you have these things that change, and in a sense, this first version of the game, which has loads of characters that are not upgraded, is a very pure version and maybe the purest version of the game. But it also gets more and more interesting the more upgraded vampires you have, and the more interesting and thematic effects can happen during the game. So we feel, don't waste your time on playing hundreds of games with an unupgraded character deck. Just jump right in. There's 21 games. You don't need to worry about, oh, I don't know the game well enough yet. I first want to hone my strategy or something. Just jump in and experience it. And that's what we are going to try and do today. Not actually playing, but at least preparing our characters and doing the prologue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I just want to point out on what you were saying about not being too worried about starting this campaign before you really know what you're doing. Just from a game design perspective, there are points, essentially chronicle or campaign points that you gain for over the entire 21 games, and these scale towards the back end so that the number of points sort of available in a sense in the first chapter and in the first era is lower than the number of points available in the 7th era. So from a psychological point of view, as far as not worrying too much, that's true. And also from a gameplay point of view, it really isn't. You need to put it in front of you, Simon.
That is right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
to, I'm also prepared for this.
There are simply more points available later. So this game, I would really recommend playing the first chapter rather than even a single practice game, because the sooner you get into it, it will actually make more sense to you, playing it in the context of the actual chronicle.
Right, exactly. And one thing about the game is it's supposed to be chaotic. It's supposed to be learning it and being like a person, being like this shadowy person, trying to move the wheels, but not being entirely sure if it's working, and then feeling even more masterful when you manage to manipulate everything in your direction. So that seems to fit well in there. Right, so we have our box there, and we want to basically do this by the book. And so the first thing we need to have for all the players is our player envelope, our haven, and our character sheet. Right. So Lolly and Francisco, you guys will be playing with me tomorrow in the studio, and we'll see if we can make Ash somehow join virtually. That's a bit of a technological hurdle that we'll need to clear, but we'll all be making these characters. So the first step here in the rulebook is write your name on your haven, and that should be your player name. So in my case, Simon. I'm just going to do that.
Right, so the haven, we went over this yesterday, but the haven is the object throughout the campaign that's linked to you as a player. So everything that is yours personally, as in not linked to a clan, will go into this haven sheet, and this haven envelope, and that's why you put your player name on it as opposed to a character name, because it could get a little bit confusing.
Right. I brought my manual now, which I have to hold in front of myself again, just to make sure that we're doing it exactly by the book, in order not to confuse you.
And the next is the character name.
Right. So remember, the setting here is, and you'll see that also when you read the little exposition in the campaign booklet. But the basic premise here is that we are in the early 14th century. The Middle Ages are ending. It's the dawn of Renaissance, and we are already quite old and powerful vampires, kind of siblings or rivals who have disposed of our previous leader, that is the kind of character that we want to create. Now, of course, this is not a role-playing game, so you can just choose a funny name. You can put more thought in it. That's totally up to you. Personally, I prefer to try to do something that's at least a little bit thematic, even if it becomes a little bit silly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think of my character as a typical, and obviously I do imagine a clan now for my vampire, but I might not divulge it at this point. but I'll be going for Igor.
Nice.
Yeah, Igor.
Igor.
And
We have some questions, Simon.
oh, we have some question.
Yeah.
What is the question?
So there is one in Discord. Triperis is asking, the Haven is a regular envelope, right? If resetting, we can use normal envelopes?
Right, exactly. So the reset pack does not include new envelopes, but you can use regular envelopes, and you might even reuse these. I mean, you can just put
Yeah, I mean, it is the player name on the envelope. So if you were to play with the same players, or if you were to play again, you could reuse this.
exactly.
Maybe we should sell them, Simon. Maybe we should do like custom.
Yeah, we could have done so much more to sell more things. People are asking to buy the coins now in large numbers. So unfortunately, we are sometimes a little bit too idealistic. So we really only ordered basically as much as we needed for the Kickstarter backers. But if we wanted to be rich, we could have, I think, just made a business as like a coin selling company. Oh, yeah.
So there is another question on YouTube. IB is asking, can someone else play with my player's envelope when I can attend a session?
That sounds like almost heretic to me. I mean, that's up to you. But they would be playing as you, so you couldn't swap someone in, because it's like that stuff in there is yours. So they would basically be taking your position.
I think like gameplay wise, we should point out as well that like the games themselves are quite concrete. You won't be making a lot of like, given that I have these resources, I'm going to take these specific things necessarily into the next game, and the next player needs to sort of know what I was planning to do with them or something like that. So in that sense, the new player could definitely sit down and play very coherently. They'll know what's going on, and then it will end, and likewise you can just come in and pick it up. So it's not like there'll be lots of sort of missing or like loose ends that will be confusing. Like, why do I have these cards? I don't know what you were planning to do with them. That doesn't happen. They might spend all your assets though.
Right, and there's one thing I wanted to mention, which we kind of keep forgetting or not mentioning enough. You can always play a custom game. So in a situation where one of your regular players can't join and you want to play your game with someone else, you want to show that to them, you can still play a full game using your copy of the game, but not using the envelopes and the legacy content at all, beyond the changed characters. That works perfectly fine, and it's actually quite fun, because obviously if you invite someone for a custom game after your first game of the campaign, they'll have a much different game than if you do that after the 15th game of the campaign. But that is always an option.
Yeah, and the other fun thing about the non-chronicle game is that it's so much more relaxed. Like you didn't realize you're playing in the context, and with every game the context kind of builds. And when you play a one-off game, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna see what happens. It's great. It makes you realize just how much sort of weight the campaign itself is kind of gathering. So I think it's cool.
Right. So my character's name is Igor Vasilievich. I'm not sure if that's real Russian, Eastern European, or if I'm like wrongly appropriating culture here. But that's his name. And I assume everyone else has completed this step.
Yeah. So my name is Epilus, and I know that this is correct because just before I looked at pre-Roman Britain names. There's a website. There's a website that is devoted entirely to pre-Roman Britain names. And so this is kosher, this is appropriate. And so I'm playing like I was snatched by our sire at the first invasion of Britain. So very old indeed.
Right, nice. Yeah, I mean, my guy is more like this classical Eastern European kind of branch. How about you, Lolly and Francisco?
So we'll show you.
Yeah, we are going to show you in the...
So this is Lolly.
Yeah, my character is called Natalia.
Whoa.
Just Natalia.
Natalia. Yeah.
Very mysterious.
She sounds like a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Right.
And then mine, maybe you will recognize it. In
Oh,
history. In history.
Petrarca. Oh, I do recognize it.
Yeah.
So you're a poet, is
Uh-huh.
what you're saying.
A romantic.
I was disappointed not to see the return of Francisco.
Yeah, Francisco would have been fun as well.
No.
Yeah.
He was like a joke vampire, like a clown.
I always thought it was like a cipher, and it was like this silly kind of threatening, where people are like using silly names in order to hide and acting silly in order to hide how evil and cruel they are.
Yeah, it's like watch out for Bobo. He'll get you.
Right. So the next thing we should do for our character is fill exactly one dot in the. My God, this background is annoying.
So,
we can show here.
so we are going to show here from the
nice.
studio. So
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So here is Petrarca, as you can see.
Right. So these traits, we're going to put exactly one dot in one of the left 9 traits in the branches resources, abilities, or psyche. And this is basically a thematic choice at this point. It does influence what kind of stickers you will be able to put on vampires should you get to elevate a vampire to ancilla status after the first game. You'll have stickers available depending on what choice you make here, because the stickers depend on these. So you do have a wide range of choices there, and you don't need to look at the stickers. I think you can choose something and you can fit it to the character you're making. So Igor, for example, he's obviously interested in subterfuge, so that is where I'm going to place my dot here, because that's the idea of the character that I had. And in later games, I might make choices based on game theory as well, but for now, I'm happy with this.
Yeah, there is a question on Discord. Triperis is asking, when choosing characteristics of a character, should people actively avoid competing for the same trait?
So that's a good question. I don't think you should. I think Ash, please chime in. Disagree.
Yeah, I mean, right. So to go into this, we might have to explain a little bit about how this affects, or how scoring feeds off this mechanic. So at the end of every era, we're going to make decisions. The winner of that era is going to make a decision, which is going to assign value to these sorts of traits in the world. If the world becomes more brutal and savage, then it's great to be a warlike tough character. If it becomes more sort of refined and sophisticated, then you might want to be, you might want to have points in kindred or subterfuge. So we're going to invest in these attributes, and then we're going to assign value to them later in games. Now, when you assign that value, what you're looking for, of course, is points of difference. If we both have 3 points in subterfuge, I have no reason to boost the value of subterfuge. So in a very simple sense, yeah, I mean, you might want to avoid doing that. But I want to point out that there are so many of these dots assigned throughout the entire chronicle, and these points where you get to assign value to them come every 3 games, that the chances are that you will have, well, you definitely will have divergent sort of positions. So I wouldn't worry too much about that at the moment. The most significant thing that could happen is that after the first chapter, really just the first chapter, if you've all chosen literally the same dots, there could be a little bit of a traffic jam on those stickers. So I would probably recommend that. But it's, there's nothing wrong. It's a very sort of political game. And if you and I both have the same, let's say when it comes to subterfuge, we're both invested in that, well, we're going to have some kind of shared interest that the other players don't have. So there's nothing sort of wrong with those sorts of moments happening. And I wouldn't worry too much about the long-term implications of the Chronicle when you're doing this point, because it's just very complex, and I don't really know how to solve it. So yeah.
In the very most intrigue-ridden version of the game with 4 players, I think what you might want to do is actually choose the same as another very good player potentially.
Yes.
But then again, if that's the person you're competing against, that might change the equation again. So I think the final conclusion is, don't worry too much about it for this first dot.
One thing you were saying earlier, Simon. One thing, if players do want a little bit more context to this first decision, some people do, some people don't. Is have a look at those ability stickers and see what looks fun to you, see what looks cool, because they are themed sort of accordingly. So warfare is all about sort of more aggressive actions. Wealth is typically about sort of gaining power, things like this. So if they're really sort of stumped, some players will sometimes just not be able to make a decision when you tell them pick whatever you want. You can point them in that direction as well, and that will give some more sort of meat to that first decision. But yeah, I just want to stress there's so many points to come out through the Chronicle that there's plenty of time to think later on about where you really want to invest. This is really sort of creating a level 1 character. It doesn't matter so much at the moment.
Right, maybe we can show the stickers just to illustrate that one point a bit.
So we are looking for the stickers. So
we lost the stickers.
Here are the stickers. Yeah.
So
You
there
can
we are.
change.
Yeah. Go to spider.
So you will see
Spider cam.
the spider cam.
Right, and these are actually related, so these are the discipline stickers that you can see here, and they work a little bit differently. Right, okay, so, yeah, exactly. So you can't, so there's the stickers for Sabbat and Detachment, which both are traits in the game. Sabbat is not available for this first choice because obviously in the early 14th century, the Sabbat, which is the, can't say it bad, like the worst guys of the Vampire the Masquerade universe. So they're not there yet, but they also get some stickers. And so what you can see there in Detachment is that there's a few different abilities that relate to this feeling of detachment you might have as a ages-old vampire who doesn't really care anymore about the world at large. So the first one that you can see here is that you can turn a vampire into a centrist, which allows him to activate red noble power or green the lower classes power. So that's something that naturally would be available to a detached vampire lord to be able to say, well, I don't really care as long as I get what I need.
Yeah, I mean, the other, when it comes to the stickers as well, the other thing is that the sort of like the morality track, the Beast Within track I was at length explaining earlier, you are sort of incentivized in some ways, although other ways as well, but if you invest in a particular attribute to higher levels, more powerful stickers become available to you. And the one right at the end, I think, is the most interesting kind of sticker. This is a way of linking the vampire to a particular clan permanently for the rest of the game. And usually if you have a Nosferatu and Sile, they can still join your Toreador bloodline, and they join as sort of, advisors or like a bonded servant or something like that. But by applying the bonded sticker, you will prevent any other clan from taking them. And the only way to do that is to sort of reach the pinnacle of this particular sort of attribute. So that's something you might be thinking about as well. But that's like three-dimensional chess kind of gameplay there.
Right. Another question that I see here on the Discord, are stickers intended to be limited? After reset, can we also use stickers unused in previous campaigns?
Ooh, I mean, that's an interesting question. That would very much be like a house rule kind of thing. Nothing will break if you have multiple stickers with like the same effect in play. It's very sandboxy in that kind of sense. It's not like, like Magic style things getting out of hand. That won't happen. So you can certainly do that. In the vanilla game, with the stickers that come in the box, they are a scarce resource. There's only one of that sticker. Very much like the characters, they're all custom and unique. So they are sort of intended to be scarce. If you did have a second sticker pack, that would be kind of interesting. I never thought of that. But that would actually add more variety. You could have stacks of, I'm thinking in particular of the anti-tribute, which are pretty much the only sticker effect that kind of has these direct synergies with other anti-tributes. So if you had multiple sticker packs, you could have like huge packs of these going about, and that would be kind of zany. But again, nothing would break. The game would go on, and you just have to react to what's going on there. But yeah, as I said, in the vanilla version, there is only one of these sort of this abilities available.
Right. One thing to consider here is there's a bit of obviously a bit of competition for the higher level stickers coming in through this scarcity, as you mentioned. But on the other side of the equation, at least with our basic rules for the game, you can only ever have one retainer in your haven.
Yes.
So, that means you can upgrade this one guy heavily until he is maybe killed by other people and you can't retain him anymore. But a lot of the upgrades that you're choosing will go into the main character deck and not be only for you to use. So how this ends up usually is that what players use here is influenced by what kind of game they want to see, also by some balance considerations, like you wouldn't want to make a too powerful character that you can't retain. It's a bit of a tension there. It is quite good to have good stickers available, but it's also about keeping the balance, basically. So there will not be, I think, too much OP-ness either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's very bittersweet to create a monster, release them into the world, and then have them in the very next game just destroy everything you're trying to create.
Right. And this is actually part of the meta game too, right? If someone has this guy as a retainer, what you want to do is kill them off so that they can't be retained. And so in a 3 or 4 player game, you'll see shifting alliances depending on these changing situations. Now we spend a lot of time going into the nitty-gritty details here. I'm sure everyone is like super bored at this point. but we are
Right.
to talk
The
about
next
this forever.
The next one is now that you have a player name, you have a character name, you have your first attribute dot that you gained in one of the first three categories. The next is a discipline. Disciplines function slightly differently. They score a little bit differently. They score more linearly than the other attributes. Doesn't matter that much. And they also apply different stickers. So while the general abilities that come from attributes are very like unique, one-off, custom things, the disciplines, I think it makes sense that they're more sort of utilitarian and sort of generally available. More people can have these things that will help them carry out schemes and so on. And so the next thing that we'll do, and we'll do this in the headquarters as well, is pick one dot of any discipline, the first dot, the left dot of any discipline that you would like to get involved with. I picked occult, by the way. Maybe we go through the office, ask what abilities people picked. I picked occult because Epilus is like he's like a big time pagan. You know, he worships the old gods. He loves that stuff, and he spent like 1400 years just kind of hanging
1400,
about.
that's how old he is, man. He must be like the...
Well, the Roman invasion, right? It's pretty old, I think.
Right, wow. Okay.
Yeah, are you scared yet, Simon?
I'm scared now, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah. No, he's just been like getting annoyed at popes and things for the last little bit. So yeah, in the headquarters, what were your resources or abilities or psyche? What did you pick for Natalia?
Petrarca is going also occult.
Ooh.
So there we have it. Francisco thinks you're a good player, Ash. I think he...
or vice versa.
And I think he's going to have... What can we choose here? I think we're going for presence.
Right.
And now we have Natalia. And Natalia... warfare.
Ooh.
Natalia is a warrior.
And... animalism.
Animalism.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
This sounds also very scary, I have to say.
yeah.
So one regret that I have here is that for a lot of the vampire Masquerade specific stuff, like these discipline masteries, we didn't have a lot of space to provide context for players who are not so familiar with it in the rulebook. There's just like so much stuff, but obviously these disciplines, for anyone who's not a vampire fan, they are like the special powers of the vampires, and animalism would be something that allows a vampire to basically interact with and use animals for their purposes, like conjure swarms of rats to do their bidding and this kind of animalistic stuff. So Natalia is very fearsome indeed. Igor, who chose subterfuge, is going to go for the very stereotypical obfuscate mastery. That seems to make sense for me. What about you other guys?
Right. I'll go with obfuscate.
Oh, you too?
Yeah. Epilus has been hiding in the woods.
I see. Okay, it's kind of direct correlation here. How about you, Francisco?
Yeah, I already showed. I have, and actually it's kind of funny because it's occult and presence.
I see.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we're done with that.
Yeah.
Right.
But-
Now comes the most fun part, which is...
Well, the second most.
Oh,
I don't know.
oh,
What's the
okay,
second most?
right. So what we need now is our vampiric titles. So Igor, my guy, come on, camera.
So we show it there.
He's going to be the jester. I guess I should add some more context. The jester of Craig. Moscow? What do you guys think?
Isn't it too early for Moscow?
And maybe even okay. What? Oh, damn it! Now I have to go to Wikipedia.
You broke history.
Okay, he'll just be the jester for now. And after I've researched medieval cities that existed in 1306, which Ash has a head start on me. Because he did
many obscure cities that don't really, they're like villages now, but they used to be like big deals.
Right. So now I'm happy with Igor the Jester, it's a bit more ominous too, right? So
I'll be known as Priest Bane.
Priest Bane, wow, because you're this heathen guy.
Yeah, super pagan.
Nice, all right.
And in the office, in the headquarters?
So I'll be Petrarca the wordsmith.
The word?
Yeah.
Mm.
Right, makes sense.
Right, he's gonna be some toreador guy, I think. That's what I think he'll do. How about you, Lottie?
So, Natalia is the wild.
The wild. All
Like
right.
Natalia is full on like being wild, animalistic,
Yeah, exactly.
fierce.
Exactly, that's my approach.
I feel like that's not the worst approach here,
You
to
see?
go with like some broad concepts instead of
Yeah.
intricate gray area moral ambiguity stuff. Right.
Yeah, and the 14th century geography too. So then the next step, arguably the most fun, it depends how much you get into the titles. By the way, you're going to collect more titles throughout the game, sort of like the queen or something. You're going to be this very imposing, almost mythological kind of figure in the world of darkness. So you're going to have a stack of these titles. At least you will if you keep winning games. This is just the first. The next step is to, is to choose your first retainer. So Timon, maybe you can go through those steps.
Right. I'm gonna need the help of Francisco or Lolly here.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we do here is basically we're selecting our most trusted lieutenant to accompany us into this first game. So we'll take the character deck, and for each player, we'll give them a selection, a random selection, and please shuffle this really well, because I want to have some good guys here now. A random selection of 3 characters, one of whom I will choose. Choose to embrace and turn into an ancilla. So please, Francisco, do your best here.
Are you prepared?
Okay.
But we need to watch here, I think. Oh no, maybe here in the
Yeah.
smaller camera. Yeah.
The Spidey cam is perfect
Yeah.
for this, right?
Yeah.
So
Ready?
it's out of 3, right?
Out of 3,
Go,
correct.
Francisco, go.
First.
The Shield Maiden.
Uh-huh.
Igor and the Shield Maiden, huh?
It sounds good. It's from
Second
the
option.
novel. It kind of works. The Plunderer, okay, also very nice.
And your third choice.
The Pretender, some fat guy on a horse. Well,
Whoa.
Whoa, yeah. That's your retainer, dude. So harshly of him.
is any of you related to this guy? It's like, anyway, no, the Pretender is also cool, definitely, for sure. I think I need to go with the Shield Maiden here. I mean, I'm a subtle guy, right? I have subterfuge, obfuscate, but I think I need some muscle as well.
Yeah, some muscle,
So,
exactly.
If you could, maybe you can show that on the Spidey cam as well.
Yep.
That you upgrade her, take her out of the sleep, and then I'm very interested to see what the ability is. I have some idea. I think it's like taking the infamy.
It's like protective.
Vigilant.
Vigilant.
Move the Sile's infamy to Shield Maiden. and then remove 2 infamy from the Shield Maiden. Yeah, that is very good if you do lots of evil things, to have someone to take the blame and take the heat. So,
Right, and
Shield Maiden. Right, sorry?
I was just saying that one of the things that the prologue does is explain just this moment and how it will sort of function for the rest of the chronicle. This is something called Elevate, where you take a basic character, you take essentially a mere mortal, and you're going to convert them into an ancilla, a more powerful vampire for the rest of the chronicle. And it's sort of important that these sleeves, these characters are sleeves when you get them, and you don't know exactly what sort of monster you'll be creating. You don't know exactly what they'll be bringing into the chronicle. You have a hunch. For instance, the Shield Maiden did something which was sort of appropriate to that. But yeah, this is telling you how to do it, as far as just take the card out, flip it around, and then we'll go back to, I guess, the headquarters for the next step, which is applying a clan sticker. But also the spirit to do it in, which is that you're not entirely sure, but you need to pick one. So you're just going to make some decisions and move on, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
People who want to control everything will hate this game, I think. Anyway, my Shield Maiden. Show me my Shield Maiden again. I want to give her the kiss, the embrace, and I want to turn her into. I think she's going to be a Nosferatu. Just keeping.
Ooh.
Nosferatu.
Yes, she's going to be a Nosferatu.
Right, those lines, that's not war paint.
Maybe she's hiding something there, yeah, some deformities.
Yeah.
And actually, it could be all just a mirage, all just a, just an image, right?
So ordinarily, the main difference here is that ordinarily we carry out this step in the aftermath phase after a chapter has happened, and at that point you will be linked at that moment with a particular clan. You might have just played the Toreador, you might have just played the Nosferatu, and at that point you can choose to make them a Thin Blood, or they will be the clan that you've just played. However, because we're just starting out here, and this is your retainer that you've had for some time, you will be choosing from any of the six bloodlines, which is kind of a good point. As to the last question about changing clans and things like that, we're already adding characters from potentially unrelated bloodlines before we even play the first game. So there's already it's really not clear that this clan is just better now because they've added this character.
Right. And also again, in terms of like what clan you are, there's nothing that keeps you from, as I kind of did, saying, okay, I'm going to be a Nosferatu here, and I'm going to make these choices, and just have that be part of your character if you want to.
Absolutely.
Right.
So maybe we can pull 3 cards for me, or I have actually cards here. I could do it here.
No, we don't trust you.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, you're the guy who made most of these, so probably you have the most powerful 3 characters pre-selected right now.
Simon, I have a question. Can you put a sticker right away, or you need to do that when after the first game?
After the first
Okay.
game. So an ability sticker.
And this one goes to your envelope, right?
Oh, wait a second. I wanted to call my guy something.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh wow, you're using the name sticker.
I mean, if we're going to show it, then why not show it, right?
Right.
So,
What name?
Is it Becky, Belinda?
no,
Gabby?
no, it's
Carmelita?
Ramona. Name?
No, man. She's from the north. If anything, it should be
Whoa.
a normal name, but it's not. It's a fighting name. It's a nickname. It's Igor's Hand. Oh, but wait. The Black Hand. No, she's not a killer. That doesn't work. Igor's Hand. I'm going with Igor's Hand.
Igor's Hand. Wow, it's amazing that you met someone with that name.
Wow.
That's not her actual name. That's the name I choose.
Ah,
I choose for her because I'm her master. Remember?
wow. For now, who
Fire.
knows what will happen in the centuries ahead?
Who knows? I might drop her off on the next street corner and get some really
So?
good guy, and then she'll be in the deck, and she'll still be called Eagle's Hand.
Ego's hands,
Here
exactly.
it
Yeah,
goes.
that's how it happens.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for indulging.
Yeah. Now we're going to see your
Yeah. This poor.
poor lady.
Ego's
Igor's
hand,
hand.
yeah.
Submissive.
She's been cleaning up your mess for centuries, Igor.
Igor!
This is just the start of a very elaborate naming scheme that I've come up with.
Igor's foot,
Which-
Igor's arm.
It would be like a transformer.
Yeah, Igor is Voltron.
Yeah. So here we have also your sheet. So this is the.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Look at
you
that.
made one for me. I have one here as well, but that's cool. Thank you.
So then we
Very
can see
nice.
how they are connected.
So now,
So yeah, once you have that name, the two dots, the title, and the retainer, that's it. You're good to go. You can start the first
Okay.
chapter right
so
away.
it goes to Igor's
Now,
envelope. I think it's
Right.
there. No?
Exactly. So now we are going to put your assets here. Where is Igor's? And it doesn't have your
Nice.
name, but we are going to give a name to Igor.
Right.
So here's yours, Simon.
thank
Your
you.
assets.
Mm-hmm.
So you know perfectly. It's perfect.
Fold it once, and it will fit perfectly.
Right. It begins.
Right.
So now, who's going to
Be the next.
choose?
Me. I'll
Okay.
go next.
Okay.
So here come your options, Ash.
Okay, what am I? The artist. Okay, all right. I'm kind of seeing that. Yeah,
Bit aloof, don't you think?
yeah. I don't think that the pagan would go for that.
Hmm.
And who's the next one? I can't see at the moment. On the
So it's the art,
the companion.
the companion, yeah.
All right, so the companion, the heir, and the artist. I have to go with the artist because of that third attribute, the wandering artist. I think that pagan would go for that. I would see some kind of kindred spirit there. So I'll give the artist the embrace and forever add the Sensor to the chronicle.
Nice.
And under which clan?
Traditionally, of course, a Toreador.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like someone played against type a little bit, so I'll go with type. I'll say the artist is a Toreador.
It's a Toreador. Okay.
Of course,
And you're going
only
to
the
give
best.
it. And are you going to give a name?
No,
No name. Okay.
no name. I'm saving my named characters. I still don't know what the artist is good for just yet.
Okay. So the artist is going to.
It's going to your heaven.
Wow, I have one too, all the way from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, that will be fun. We can really try that, like remote play. That
I think it would actually work fairly well, given that I have the cards here for the clan schemes.
right. That's true.
So now, do you want to go, Lolly, or Petrarca goes?
Natalia can go now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have your options on the screen. If you go to the spider.
Okay, what are my options?
So you have
Ooh, holy wow.
the
These
outcast,
guys are back.
Wow.
the executioner, and the poisoner.
Mm.
Wow. They fit pretty well with Natalia. Natalia the Wild,
Yeah.
I have to say.
Right.
So I have two good candidates here. I'm considering the outcast and the executioner.
Really? Not the poisoner?
No.
Hmm.
No.
Right. I mean,
So I will.
Is
I mean
looking
the
at potions.
executioner. Oh, sounds
Yeah.
violent, right?
Yeah. I want the outcast.
What's
Outcast.
outcast? All right.
Yes.
Very interested to see what it does.
Yeah.
I actually don't
He
remember.
has,
Honestly,
he has a
don't
fun
remember.
ability. Yeah, I do.
Again, show.
I remember the executioner has something violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the clan. I think.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You see?
Scapegoat.
What
Move
are my?
me in your bloodline to the outcast. Yeah, that could be pretty good. That's
Scapegoat.
true. Um,
Mm-hmm. So I think
So
a gangrel.
a gangrel kind of makes sense.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
He
sense.
seems more like a victim than a friend.
Yeah.
Right. I'm seeing Triparis on Discord saying, please play other clans from previous playthrough too. You played Ventru, Toreador, and Nosferatu. We absolutely will. Igor might use a completely different clan. Might not go for the Nosferatu at all. But that's a good point. We've played with a much earlier prototype. We've done a playthrough, I think end of last year or something, or beginning of this year. So
Yeah.
we should maybe showcase some other clans.
So now it's the turn of Francisco. I'm putting my cards in heaven.
Right.
So you can change the.
Let's see.
So I have the devilish scholar, the bishop, and the treasurer. So a lot of yeah,
A lot
I
of guys.
think a lot of.
I think your team
guys.
looks a bit like a sausage fest, Francisco.
Yeah. It's the times, you know, the Middle Ages. I
We do
think.
have a 50-50 ratio though,
Mm.
as far as I remember, for the characters, right? So.
So I think I'll go with the devilish scholar.
Right.
He is, from memory, quite powerful, actually. I can't remember exactly what now.
So he's a cultist, and it can rejuvenate any 3 vampires and gains 3 infamy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's pretty good, but
Yeah.
also it costs you 3 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But if you have a lot of vampires on torpor or something, this can save you and earn you many points if they have power on them.
Right.
So, yeah,
But
so-
only if you keep it in your envelope until it's needed, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
And he's going to be a la sombra.
Oh, la sombra.
Yo.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So we basically all completed the prologue now, I think.
Yeah.
We have Natalia, the Wild, Ralka, the Worldsmith.
So we can
What was it? It was
Epilis, Priestbane.
Epilus Priestbane and Igor the Jester of a medieval city yet to be determined. That's our lineup for this whole campaign, basically, depending on how much we can play. If we manage to get this to work virtually, we should make this a thing, right? We should do this every week. And the next thing we would be doing is fire up that first game, right? Now my question is,
Right.
what does the time say? Should we set up the game right now, or?
I think that we should not, basically. We have like maybe half an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
If that, I mean, we wanted to keep it, I think, at 1.5 hours maybe. So.
Okay.
But I think so. This was the prologue, and the next step with your heritage game would be just to go to that page in the rulebook where you do the game setup and follow those steps to set up the first game using the Chronicle adjustments in the red boxes.
So you can see here.
Right, you can see it in high quality too, without it disappearing randomly.
Exactly.
And we, of course, went into great detail answering questions. There is no need to do that. It certainly shouldn't take an hour and a half generally. So I wouldn't feel like you might see this stream, see that we're doing the prologue and it's taking this long. It's this whole thing. Definitely not. But we were going into lots of detail and really playing into a little bit of the role playing a little bit. And you can lean into that or not. It's up to you. But I would recommend it. It's fun. Get a beer, pretend to be a vampire.
Right. Again, this comes to like how you want to play the game, as this cutthroat competitive game, or if you wanted to have a little bit of theme and a little bit of banter and things. That is definitely also possible. So I think what we could be doing is we could then do this setup outside of camera and be ready to play tomorrow with our 4 protagonists and see how that goes. I'm excited actually to start another campaign.
So maybe we could go back to Nice Game Shop, and Francisco or someone can explain how to get the game, what the ETA is for backers, things like this.
Yep.
One thing, before we do that, I see that there is one question unanswered
Okay.
on the YouTube, which is a kind of out-of-turn question because it relates more to the larger campaign. But Fabian asked something about the campaign balancing, because he played, I think, the campaign before a bit as a beta tester. So he's asking, is focusing on only winning the goals in each mission and completely forsaking to win the individual games a viable strategy to win the campaign? I have my thoughts. I don't know if you want to start, Ash. We both spend a lot of time thinking about matters like this. Basically, eternity, several vampiric unlifetimes, so to say.
Yeah, so the Chronicle missions are what give you these dots, these character traits as you go on sort of adventures and make decisions. And then it's winning games and winning eras that allow you to assign value to those dots. So it could be the case that it's a pretty strong strategy to focus more on the missions. So I think that there's a couple of things pointing against that. One is that they literally can be worth 0 points, depending on how the eras play out. Any particular attribute isn't necessarily worth anything from the resources. The disciplines are, but they're only worth 1. They don't scale like the others do. The other thing is that, especially if you have the expansions, which I think really a lot of the backers do, there are additional rewards for winning the chapter. So we were aware of this. It should be the case that you're trying to win the game, and I think it is the case. You're picking up extra assets, and also by picking up the titles, you are getting points just for that, just guaranteed points. And the last thing is that it is certainly possible to play kind of mission facing, but a lot of the things that will help you do well at that are actually pretty similar to winning the game generally. So it's about keeping your characters out of torpor. It's about putting other players' characters into torpor. And so it should be the case that these two strategies aren't really that divergently aligned, that playing well towards the missions will tend to do okay at the table as well. And the other point, of course, is that it could be the case that there are very strong players gaming these things out, doing the math, and being the sort of brain genius at the table. And that's possible. I'm not entirely sure how likely it is that that's a great strategy. But the real thing that we're counting on is the other players at the table seeing that and sort of responding to it. And a lot of the way that the sort of economies work around missions to having the most of this kind of vampire, all it takes is a character or two placed into torpor, and now, as well as not going for the game, you haven't got the missions either. So it's not sort of guaranteed because the other players are looking at you, they're watching you do this stuff. And that, I think, ultimately really is what balances the Chronicle, is other players getting annoyed at you and deciding to take you down.
Right. And if I may add, I do think from my experiences with the game, as with everything else, context is king. So there are situations certainly where it could be the smarter choice to go for that. But it's very, like, if you have that kind of skill to see that, I think you might as well go for winning the game instead with that skill. Like, it might be the case that I'm in a situation in a game where, I don't know, someone killed my powerful vampire, and now I feel like, oh, I can't win this game anymore. So I'm going to focus on missions instead. That is possible. But it's possible that you're wrong. It's possible that you were still winning, because that's not how the game works. You don't. You have feelings, and you have ideas, and you get slightly better at it. But it's not a 100% thing. So and the context of the campaign makes it even more difficult to make a conscious choice like that, because there's other things you can think about. You can think about, like, what stage of the era am I in? Definitely you always want to win a game that will allow you to win the era. Who am I competing with? Is that a person that I feel is leading in the campaign? Maybe then, I can let them win. Or is that someone who's not won a game before, and then the other way around? You know what I mean. So I think if you can discern the moments where going for the missions is the right thing to do correctly, then you deserve to win the campaign.
Yes.
So if that answers that question.
But it's a very while gameplay is quite simple, it's a very complex ecosystem. And we'd love your feedback, and we'd love to know what your experiences are, because we could only play so many games and so many Chronicles in testing, and it's fascinating to sort of. I'm really looking forward to the characters and the stories that people have that come back to us.
Right. Whoa. Okay. So now we have the 1.5 hours full. Francisco, do you want to take over for a bit and?
Yeah. So if you are a backer, you will in most cases get the game in mid to late November. So that's for backers. Now, if you're not a backer but you're interested in the game, you can still pre-order it, and it's available at nicegameshop.com right now. So you can go and pre-order the game. Also on Nice Game Shop, we have other games, and we have a big collection of them on offer, but only for Spiel.digital. So till Sunday, you can get 30% discount. on all of these games in this collection. You can go on the website and there's like a big button. You click on them and you will find that all the games that are discounted like 30%, and you will receive the discount on the checkout. And also at 4 we have a game testing session of a prototype called Hunch. So if you're interested in joining, you can go to the Discord channel. The link is on the description of the video. And at 4 we will start, and yeah, it's really not like Vampire, it's like the opposite. So it's really like light and yeah, it doesn't take too much time.
Right. It's a game where you try to write clues for secret worlds you don't know. And an alternative title in development was Shitty Mind Readers.
Yeah.
So if you want to test Shitty Mind Readers with us and have some fun, and you have Tabletop Simulator, then drop by the Discord. And also, if you have all kinds of other questions, comments, rants, feedback, we're hanging out there whenever we can during Spiel.digital, and we'd love you to have you drop by.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Bye,
So
everyone.
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Ciao.